Welcome everyone to the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County's November meeting. We're here to discuss fire safe endeavors and to update everybody on what we're doing in each of our realms. And so I'd like to start off by introducing ourselves. It's a lot of people tonight, so we'll go through quickly. I'm Giselle. I'm the coordinator for the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County. And then we'll just start with Greg.
I'm Mount Shasta West, Greg Dinger.
Madeline.
Madeline Lavaji, Quartz Valley resident.
CJ.
Hi everyone, I'm CJ with the Mount Shasta Bioregional League College Center's Wildfire Resiliency Program.
Greg Grandazzo.
Hey everybody, I'm Azo, Program Coordinator with CORE, working on the Community Wildfire Defense Grant with the Fire Safe Council.
Josh Bean.
Hello everyone, I work alongside Greg Randazzo, also working on the Community Wildfire Defense Grant with the Fire Safe Council.
Hi, Kevin Mancebo.
Good evening, everybody. Kevin Mancebo, CAL FIRE, Siskiyou Unit, Assistant Chief, Hazard Mitigation.
And Laurel.
Hi, everyone. Laurel Harkness. I'm with Rural Voices for Conservation Coalition. I'm based in Mount Shasta.
All right, Christine Holst.
Christine Holst, U.S. Forest Service Fuels Department out of the Mount Shasta Ranger District.
Siskiyou Media Council.
Dave McAdams, Executive Director, Siskiyou Media Council.
And here's a new face, Andrew Wise.
Yeah, Andrew Weiss, Lava Beds Butte Valley Resource Conservation District.
And Laurel Harkness.
Didn't I already go, Giselle?
Oh, did you? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know what happens is I'm telling people and then it shifts.
Got it.
Shifts. Yeah. Let's see, where was I? Greg, Susie Hott.
Probably Joe Hodge.
Yeah, probably is. Is that you, Joe?
Yeah, it's me, Giselle.
All right. I see Susie's on too. Is it one and the same?
She's on hers and I'm on mine.
Okay. Marina.
Hi, Marina Oliva. I am in the Northern California. I work with both Josh and Greg with CORE.
All right.
Program
Eric.
coordinator.
Yeah, good to have you. Eric Dara.
Good evening. Eric Dara with the Mid-Climate Watershed Council and the Happy Campfire Safe Council.
All right. See who I met. Nick Jocelyn.
Hi, I work at the Mount Shasta Bioregional Ecology Center with CJ.
Hey, Ruby Churchill.
Hello, I am Giselle's administrative assistant.
Marlene. She probably doesn't hear me. So we'll go to Carolyn Napper.
I'm sorry. I'm Marlene. I'm a Mount Shasta resident. I had my audio off.
That's all right. Carolyn? If you're talking, we can't hear you. All right. Well, I'm going to go to the next. Heidi.
Hi, everybody. Heidi George, Gateway Firewise Community.
Let's see. Darren Weeks.
Hi, this is Darren Weeks with the Siskiyou Air Pollution Control District.
Yeah, and let's see. Thule, did we do you yet?
Nope. Hey, everybody. I'm Thule Potts with the California Sierra Nevada Conservancy.
Good to have you here. Jennifer Erickson.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Erickson. I'm the Forest Fire Prevention Officer on the Klamath National Forest.
Welcome. Spindell is all it says on your thing, but I know who you are. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Seth Pindell, Giselle.
Yep, yep, there you are. Hi, Seth.
Siskiyou, Cal Fire Battalion Chief.
Good to have you here, Seth. Let's see. Christine, we did him. Is there anybody, Heidi, did you introduce yourself yet?
We got Patty. Patty hasn't yet, and
Okay.
Julie Titus is popped
Okay.
on. Trying
I
to
don't even see those guys on my screen, but yeah, okay. Patty Grantham?
I like Seth's new nickname is Spindell. I like that. So that's gonna grow on me. But Patty Grantham, Shasta Valley RCD, and the Siskiyou Prescribed Burn Association.
All right. And Kristen, who else? Because I'm missing names.
Julie.
Julie, introduce yourself,
I'm
please.
upside down.
You are.
Okay, camera. Okay, let me flip it. See if I get right side up. All right. Sorry. Julie Titus, and I'm wildfire and fuels specialist with working currently with Jay Perkins and Kelvin with Wildland Resources. Sorry, I'm just jumping in here. Anyway, we are working on the CWPPs, and yeah, everybody knows that.
All right.
Did we get Clint Singleton?
Yeah, Clint Singleton.
Yeah, hi, Cal Fire Siskiyou Unit Battalion Chief, new to the program, working underneath Kevin Mancebo.
All right.
And then the only other one I don't think we got was Clev, where did he go? Clev Hegdal?
Hi, yeah, Cleve Hegdahl here with Siskiyou District as well, working with Darren Weeks.
All right. Is there anybody we missed? We sure welcome all of you. We don't want to let anybody feel slighted at all. You're all just as important as the next, and we want you to feel welcome. So, did we miss anybody?
We do Madeline Lavaji?
Yeah, Madeline.
Okay.
Did, yeah.
I think we got everyone.
All right, so we'll just jump in. So we have a special guest tonight, Laurel Harkness. Laurel, would you like to take over, and do you need to share your screen?
I don't need to share my screen. You're going to get me without slides because I just didn't really have time to compile a slide deck because this was kind of a last minute fill in from a previous speaker. But yeah, I think maybe 15 minutes presentation, then some time for Q&A. Okay, I can keep it within that. So thanks for having me. Thanks for the invitation to be here. I know a lot of you, but many of you I'm meeting for the first time. Like I said, I'm based in the Mount Shasta community. I've been here a little bit more than 20 years. I work for a nonprofit organization called Rural Voices for Conservation Coalition. Got a long history of rolling up my sleeves in the community, serving in different roles, lots of different hats like many of you. I currently serve on the Mount Shasta Fire Protection District Board. I've been on that board for I lost track of the years now. You know how that goes. So I'm maybe 2, maybe 4, can't remember, but they keep going and happy to serve in that role. Before that, I think one of the things I've done for the community, I did work with for several years with Senator Brian Daly, and together we passed legislation in 2021 to expand the Sierra Nevada Conservancy region, and that Sierra Nevada Conservancy, thank you Tuli Potts, has provided some critical capacity funding to South Siskiyou since that legislation passed. And full disclosure, definitely waiting for a good policy window to further expand the Sierra Nevada Conservancy region to include all of Siskiyou County. So I don't think that's any shock to the Sierra Nevada Conservancy. They kind of know that that's coming. For the last several years, I've been with this nonprofit, Rural Voices for Conservation Coalition. Before that, I served with the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. I was a North State Regional Economic Recovery Coordinator, served the region from Sierra County over to Glenn, up to Trinity, and Siskiyou and over to Modoc County. But RVCC, that's our acronym. We're a tiny team, really big impact. Broadly, we work to advance collaborative, place-based conservation solutions that support both land stewardship and rural community well-being across the West. So I serve all the Western states, and we do this work through policy, peer learning, storytelling, and challenge-led innovation. One of the projects that we have going is local here. So earlier in 2025, RVCC was awarded some grant funding through the state of California, the Jobs First program. This was the North State Catalyst Fund to support a project that we submitted, the Modoc Siskiyou Regional Wood Utilization Infrastructure Planning Project. There won't be a quiz at the end. It's a very long project title. Basically taking a holistic approach to planning for wood utilization infrastructure across the two-county region. We've got a transformative model for wood utilization, really trying to address some challenges that have been emerging and growing over the last many years. We have a lot of closures of sawmills across the West. It seems like there's not a week that goes by that there's not a new headline of a new sawmill closure, somewhere in the Western U.S. There's definitely a need for sawmill infrastructure in regions with communities of high fire risk. So Siskiyou County, of course, being one of those regions. And so we're looking to bring wood utilization infrastructure closer to the forests and the communities and taking a real holistic approach to that. We've got kind of 3 directional guides to our project, and the project's been going on since March, just to orient you sort of temporally. And then we've got funding on this phase of the project through August of 2026. So we're about not quite halfway through. So the 3 directional guides are, we want this infrastructure to mitigate climate. We want there to be community benefit built into it, which looks a lot of different ways, but economic benefit, housing supply, workforce, rural youth development, and community wildfire risk reduction. The 3rd guide is having sustainable, locally owned small businesses that can be handed down from generation to generation. So the long range for us, what it looks like is, I think some of you have heard me sort of use this metaphor before. So, Bob Ross that does the little paintings, the oil paintings where he puts like happy little trees in landscapes. So we're kind of putting happy little sawmills in landscapes. So, thinking about a distributed network of sawmills across a region, not selecting just one community, but really thinking about how many different sawmill facilities we can support throughout this two-county region. So the theory being that every community that has like a farmer's market or a pickleball court or like a fly fishing shop, but has forest around them, also should have a sawmill within them. So kind of bringing back a version of kind of the Main Street sawmill. So we're looking at wood processing for value add markets. We're focusing on underutilized species, mixed species, and smaller diameter problem logs. So a lot of the stuff that's just piling up on decks and you can't afford to get it out of the forest kind of thing. We are looking at full utilization of logs and the residuals and the development of an adaptive infrastructure that has some scalable capacity. We are very much looking at structural grade dimensional lumber as, when people ask, what are these mills going to produce? Well, that's the goal. Not everything's going to end up in that, but we want to start with that because that's kind of the most high value market that we can get into. So we've got kind of a multi-pronged solution that we're approaching this with. So at the center of it is we've got kind of a technically advanced catalog of sawmill facilities that's being pre-engineered. So I've got a whole technical team I'll tell you about in just a little bit, but we're sort of pre-designing, pre-engineering sawmills and different configurations of sawmills that are spec'd for resource-constrained communities in the rural West. So we've got several facilities that are already designed and engineered and kind of ready to go, a little bit open source and off the shelf, so that entrepreneurs don't really need to start from scratch on this. So something that we've not seen anybody else doing. So we've got kind of a unique approach there. The sawmill building facilities themselves are actually timber framed buildings. So we're really leaning into, the fact that we can utilize local talent and local materials, leaning into some aspects of the building code that are heavy timber related. So I don't know if anybody here is a building code expert. Probably many of you are more expert than me, but really these buildings are timber truss designed buildings and framed, and it's kind of a throwback to kind of the 1940s and 50s where the US was trying to save steel for the war efforts. And so there was a lot of timber framing, truss designs that came into the market. Actually, there's a lot of buildings around Siskiyou and Modoc counties that came out of the truss designs of that era. So we're incorporating some older designs into these sort of modern facilities, if you will. So, we're looking different novel pathways, novel partnerships, all of it kind of rooted around the community itself and shared community values. We've got built into the project, we've got kind of narrative development, some policy dimensions. We've got an economist on our team kind of working on the economic story and some quantification of the economic benefit of this type of system of infrastructure. We're cultivating novel partnerships and connections throughout the region and looking to create some social, economic, and cultural durability within these mill facilities themselves. So the team that we've got assembled, I'm the least technical of the people, but I'm kind of the rural community expert. But my project partner is an architect forester. He's got a dual degree out of Yale. He's out of Vermont. He's worked in wood structures and wood science his whole life. We've got a fire code engineer kind of helping us with code compliance on the catalog of facilities that we're designing. They work in 48 states, and they've got a presence in California and some offices down in Southern California. We got a timber structural engineer helping us with the structural engineering of the facility designs. We've got a wood technology scientist. He's actually the former director of the University of Maine's Advanced Structures and Composites Center, a really renowned facility in the US out of the University of Maine. We've got a wood energy systems consultant, so Wisewood Energy, based out of Portland. They work on combined heat and energy configurations that are very specific to smaller scale solutions like what we're doing. Like I said, we've got an economic analyst that's on our team and a couple other kind of business systems folks that are helping us with some technical assistance on the entrepreneur side. So we've got a finance and funding consultant that's helping with some business and risk modeling that we've got going on. So, one of the things we're really up to is assessing the region, kind of where there's opportunities, where there's challenges. We've got the map out. We're poring over, where we can place strategically different facilities throughout Siskiyou County that are close enough together where they can be somewhat cooperative, but they're far enough apart that they're not competing for wood fiber resources. So we've identified probably about a dozen different project sites that have some potential, and we're kind of working through sort of the feasibility and viability of some of those sites themselves, and sort of seeking out where there's pockets of momentum, where there's prospective entrepreneurs, where there's already viable sites and viable partners. And like I said, we're doing the pre-construction development and some business pro forma consulting. So our project, we're out in the field quite a bit. Our project team gets out to Siskiyou County once every couple months, just touring different sites, informing our business technical assistants. We're helping out with some grant writing and development support for some specific projects that we've identified in the region. And then we're continuing with some capacity development with sites that maybe are on a longer time frame. We've done a couple of in-person meet and greets in the community. We kind of had a little happy hour in Mount Shasta a couple months ago, and then last month in McLeod, early October, we convened a pretty diverse group of folks. I think some of you were there, and it was great to have such a diverse turnout and what seemed like pretty broad community support for what we're doing. I think we're targeting June for kind of a more technical local convening. I think we're going to partner with College of the Siskiyous and the Karuk tribe to host a workshop around regional wood value chains, stewardship economy, and markets for underutilized wood species and smaller diameter logs. The College of the Siskiyous, I just want to give them some real credit here. They are really leaning into the project. We see them as a really long-term critical partner in an ecosystem that supports locally led, locally owned wood utilization infrastructure. So we are working with them on some long-term development of a wood science technology program and an actual lab facility. We're doing some curriculum development with them, and we're looking at non-credit curriculum and instructional programs. And so that means these are no-cost courses for professional development. I think, it's nice to see CAL FIRE in the room here. So CAL FIRE has a really strong partnership with College of the Siskiyous, doing the Fire Academy there. We definitely see some potential for some structural wood product testing at a future College of the Siskiyou site, so we can get some wood products added to the building materials list for use in the WUI. And that's a lot of information there. Like I said, I'm based in Mount Shasta. I really love to have coffee. So if anybody wants to get together, in person and dive into any of the work that we're doing, I'd be more than happy to share my contact information, and feel free to reach out, but happy to open it up to some questions.
Would you go ahead and share your contact info in the chat?
Will do. Yeah.
Any questions, anybody?
Or feedback too. It's okay to say this just sounds nuts and I don't see how this is going to happen. That's okay too.
Well, I'm excited to see the development of potential wood mills in Siskiyou County to get our economy back up and running. Darren Weeks has his hand up.
Yeah, how big are these mills, and are these just going to be supplying local lumber yards, or are they pretty much just trying to get little mobile sawmills out to bolster our wood supply in general?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it definitely not wood misers, but these are pretty decent scale mills. Like I said, we have a full sort of collection of mill configuration. So a lot depends on the resource itself that's feeding into these mills and some specific configuration of the mills. But, I think we're looking kind of at the low end of like 3 to 5 million board feet a year, up to 15 to 20 million board feet a year. So not wood miser, but kind of a sweet spot, kind of a mid-size. One of the smaller facilities that we've got designed would be kind of a 3-person workforce, let's see, sort of running and operating that mill. One of the larger facilities that could be co-located, adjacent to the smaller facility, that's more of like a 7 to 10 person operation. So smaller workforces. I mean, I don't need to tell you how challenged we are in terms of housing and workforce constraints, throughout the region. But we figured,
Are these built to be kind of mobile, or are they kind of going to be permanent?
No, the intent is that these are going to be permanent. We're really designing the buildings for maximum kind of worker safety. code compliance, that sort of thing. The buildings themselves actually are pretty multi-purpose and just a high quality asset for any community that we put this in. And we see the building as collateral for expansion, into a larger facility. So, so definitely not portable. Although I will say, kind of spoiler alert, we do have one particular design that is, I wouldn't call it mobile, but I call it deployable. The concept is that we could deploy a sawmill configuration into a community, like in a post-fire scenario, where that mill could be situated for a couple years to be able to process a lot of the wood that's needing to be salvaged. So
Cool. I know historically around here in Siskiyou, we've had thousands of those things everywhere, so it'd be kind of cool to get that back and going and having our wood flow out of our forest again.
That's
yeah,
right. I agree.
Thank you.
Jennifer, you have your hand up?
Yeah. Hey, this is really exciting. Thank you for being here and sharing this information with us. I was wondering how much your project is looking at biomass and how we can utilize that.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of my project partners are kind of Vermont based, Massachusetts, Quebec, kind of Northeast. And they're like, Laurel, can you get everybody in California to stop calling it biomass and start calling it wood? Like, everything down to the sawdust to us is kind of wood. And so, so everybody's definition of biomass, like where does the wood stop and where does the biomass begin is sort of a challenge. But we are looking at utilization of every last particle of wood, but starting with a dimensional piece of lumber. But the smaller diameter wood that you start to mill up, the more residuals that you're going to have to process. And so definitely looking at lots of different systems to be able to utilize that wood. And I'd say, Siskiyou County is super special in that we've got a really robust agriculture economy sort of distributed throughout the county. So some of the highest potential sites we're seeing that they're adjacent to either haying operations or nursery operations that are utilizing high quality soil. So we're seeing lots of utilization opportunities with some of the biomass going into those operations. So we fortunately have a really highly technical team, including like our guy from University of Maine that works in like all sorts of high tech, kind of biomass utilization applications. So, kind of the thermomolded, pulp configurations. We've got some medical grade biochar knowledge on our team. So, as far as we're concerned, if it pencils out into a sustainable business for the entrepreneur, then we're all for it. So
excellent. We
Thank
have
you.
a biochar person here today too. Maybe he'll say a few words later or now if he wants to. But anybody else have anything to say? Any questions? Well, if you have any, put them in the chat. We'll try to get to them as we go along. And we've got a long agenda tonight. So
I'd like to speak up on biochar.
okay,
If I have
sure.
a little bit of time here, I'm just driving. My phone might die, so I'll be quick. Yeah, we just had a seminar up at the Spring Gardens, I believe the name of it was. Sorry, but we're a nonprofit group. We do workforce training on Ring of Fire kilns. It's a apparatus designed by Kelpie Wilson that we field tested now for 4 years, and it's great for reducing all those residuals into the biochar with a community effort, very shovel-ready positions that just takes a little bit of technical training. And we've been working with the Butte Fire Safe Council, worked with other fire-wise communities in Butte County, and they've purchased kilns and then donated them to us because they saw that we're going for it. So if you guys want to talk about workforce development and getting positions out in the forest to handle slash residues, because that's pretty much where this utility fits in. And also the wood that you guys are going to be planning on cutting and whatnot, those shards and the duff and the things like that can go in, except for sawdust. There's other utility that could be used for sawdust. I know cogen plants can really utilize that stuff, especially if they're going to do a heat system for the mill. So yeah, really exciting. I'm really glad that this is being introduced because I really believe that we got to get our forest sector pumped up, and it's been lacking since the spotted owl. So I really appreciate your effort here, and we're always looking to collaborate with anybody who's willing to make some biochar from slash and get some people out in the forest. So thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth, for your input. Anybody have any questions? If not, let's move into the next Community Wildfire Defense Grant update. Josh, can you tell us what y'all have been doing out there? Or Greg?
Yeah, actually, I was going to hand it off to Greg tonight to give everybody updates. But just a reminder, the Community Wildfire Defense Grant is funded by the Forest Service and the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County and CORE. We are implementing it, and we're focused on education, providing folks with free home assessments, and defensible space. And so I'll let Greg take it away with the updates, but I do just want to give one shout out as we've been doing work, specifically out in Cecilville on defensible space. We had the opportunity to see a couple projects align and build off of each other. And so I just want to give a shout out to the Salmon River Restoration Council and the U.S. Forest Service. We've been getting a lot of feedback from residents, just kind of watching mitigation happen in the community and around their homes. So yeah, it's been a pleasure doing work alongside you guys. And Greg, take it away.
Yeah, a little bit of update from the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. We have been pretty busy, keeping boots on the ground, moving all over the place. So far, we have performed 185 assessments. We have completed work 108 homes. We have, one second. We are currently active in the communities of Forks of Salmon and Godfrey Ranch, both on the Salmon River. We are looking to begin 25 homes in Dunsmuir this winter. We'll also be staying active in Butte Valley, Callahan, and Outer Wairika, kind of throughout the areas where we have a little bit more access without snow and so forth. So we're to get more assessments done out there, and yeah, boots on the ground hopefully soon. So it's a little update from the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. Some numbers.
Thanks, Greg. Anybody have questions for Greg, Josh, or Marina? She's also working with CORE on the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. And do you have anything to add, Marina?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So any questions for these folks? Let's move on. U.S. Forest Service updates. We'll start with the Klamath National Forest. Jen?
Hi. Well, the first thing I guess I should say is the government is still shut down. This shutdown has been different from other ones that we've experienced. A lot of our Klamath folks, at least here, are still working. They're called accepted, and it's anyone who is involved with implementation of timber sales, fuels reduction, anything like that. So yeah, we've got about 90% of our workforce on. Some of us are getting paychecks and some are not. So it's a real day-to-day thing for us. Let's see. The 2 Forest prescribed fire NEPA is continuing to move forward, and that's an environmental assessment between the Klamath and the Shasta Trinity to do programmatic analysis to allow for prescribed fire and preparation for prescribed fire on those forests. So that's continuing to move forward. They're anticipating a signature about mid 2026. So that's exciting. McKinney restoration work is happening north of Wairika here. It is primarily road work and stream work that's been ongoing. Pile burning, we've been pushing pile burning as much as we can. We've gotten over 1,000 acres this fall so far. And for WUI areas, we've been burning piles up Horse Creek near Klamath River, up the Grayback Road north of Happy Camp for egress purposes, In the Jess project, south of Sawyer's Bar on the North Fork of the salmon there, and some roadside piles on the east side of the forest between Four Corners and the Tennant Road, which is also for access and egress. We've got several active timber sales on the forest, two in Happy Camp. One is Cade Mountain, and the other is Tompkins Creek. Those are both north of Highway 96 there between Syad and Happy Camp. And there are 6 timber sales going on the Salmon Scott Ranger District. So Lovers, which is by Lovers Camp Trailhead, Vesa Bluffs, which is in the Craggy Project, July Thin, not 100% sure where that one is. And there are 2 near Forks of Salmon going on right now, Butler Hazard Tree and 39er timber sale. So very busy. If you're out driving in the forest, be heads up for log trucks. We've got some other fuels reduction work going on along edges of the Antelope Fire for site prep. Bunch of mastication going on there, and juniper reduction work is continuing along in the Mount Hebron area, kind of between Mount Hebron and the Tennant Road. So they have cut and piled between 600 and 700 acres of juniper out there, and they're continuing to move forward. It's going good out there. The majority of that is in Wooey. And if anybody has specific questions about any of those projects, you can hit me up here, or we can talk after the meeting. I'll put my contact information in the chat.
Thanks, Jen. Anybody have questions for Jen? Let's move on to Christine Holtz from the Shasta Trinity.
Let's see. Okay, gotcha now. Yeah, just like Jen said, this has been a pretty unique shutdown. One of the things we've been able to continue prescribed burning, which is a first for us. There have been some added hoops to jump through, but we on the McLeod Ranger District, we burned about 1,200 broadcast burn acres, primarily out in the McLeod Flats. And now with the change in weather, we've transitioned to pile burning. So we've been working mostly in the lower McLeod, Adina or Adina, depending on if you're a McLeod resident or a fisherman. We've actually completed the hand piles along that road, which was a big lift for us. And we've now transitioned to Bear Trap by the Cabin Creek Trailhead Road. And we have a lot of landing piles out in the McLeod Flats. And then a little bit closer to home, we're going to begin burning the machine piles along Everett Memorial Highway. I'm sure you guys have observed that large die-off, but that's going to begin tomorrow.
That's great.
End of report.
Thank you, Christine. Yeah, that's good news. Everett Memorial stuff.
Yes.
Anybody have any questions for Christine and the Shasta Trinity? Let's go to CAL FIRE update. Kevin.
Good evening, everybody. Hope everything's going well. Waiting for a little bit of a weather change. Quick update since we've last chatted. We had some project work on the Osgood project. I think we burned about 100 acres up there. And as Patty and Seth may be able to speak to, it was a pretty groundbreaking day. We had the PBA folks, the Scott Valley Watershed Council folks, RCD, Klamath National Forest, the Klamath Hotshots came out and gave us a hand, and of course CAL FIRE. So it was a really big deal right there in the public eye, and we'll just keep working away on that project. If you're in South County, you haven't been in North County, you should take a drive up north and have a look north of Wairika. It's turning into an impressive project right now. Let's see. In South County, you guys are probably seeing some smoke being put up in the Waika area, the Siskiyou Land Trust property. We're starting to conduct some burns there on the mechanical piles, about 600 acres that we'll be working on over the next year or so. Statewide, the Good Neighbor Authority, which the Siskiyou unit and the Klamath National Forest were the only 2 agencies or locations in the state. Now that's statewide from Mexico to Oregon. So what that does is it helps work on some cross-boundary projects. For instance, we're just wrapping up the documentation. We'll be getting back in and retreating the mastication on Highway 97 on the Shasta Trinity National Forest. So it's kind of the boundaries are being dropped. It's the things that we've talked about for a long time, and it's actually happening. So it's a great thing for everybody. Staffing within the unit. Our aircraft have been released for the season, but we're still at full peak staffing, personnel, engines, dozers, and crews until December 15th. Let's see, just looking ahead, next week's a pretty exciting week in our arenas. We've got some pretty significant meeting on fuels, mapping, planning, both with the Quartz Valley, Scott Valley, with Sam Camardo. And then same day, we've got a meeting in Wairika for the same stuff. And the same day, we'll be in Reading meeting with the Shasta Trinity National Forest. So really, we're all coming together, putting things on maps as to where we're going in the near and mid future. And then the last exciting news, that one of the new faces that's here, Clint Singleton. Lucky enough to have another battalion chief that'll be working in our shops. His title is Battalion Chief of Hazard Mitigation. But I'll let him explain exactly what his job is. But he'll be helping Seth and myself and the circles here with the Fire Safe Council. So that was it in a nutshell and very quickly. Are there any questions anybody has for me?
It doesn't look like it, but
Sorry, I have a question just as a civilian, not as the Forest Service, but I was just curious about all the hand piles at Waika. Does it seem like that's something you guys are going to be able to get to, or starting with machine piles first?
Hand piles that are on the Timber Hills side of it, they're already starting to tackle. And we are working to try and expand the project boundary. Right now, it's just the Siskiyou Land Trust property where it's already been treated, but it all falls underneath that West Mount Shasta VTP, that 14,000 acres. So we're trying to expand that. The hang up with that is we'll have to do some more arc surveys in there, but we're looking to do a little bit more what makes sense. And we're learning from that in some of our project planning. Just doing property lines doesn't make sense. We need to move out to roads. So yeah, the folks should be tackling it. Some of those piles are very close to property lines out there. So we're waiting for a little bit more precipitation, and I'm glad they waited.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
All right. Clint, would you like to talk about your position, your new position, and what it means?
Yeah, thank you. Like Kevin said, I just came on board, I think it's about 3 weeks ago. New position of the unit, believe one of the first among the first in the state with this title. And so working underneath Kevin, we're still gonna iron out the specifics of the job, but basically working in hazard mitigation, making sure there's seamless transition between projects. If Kevin or Seth Bindell, Chief Bindell, not available, I'm just another layer in there to help out, oversee, and deal with any problems these might arise on these projects. And it's going to be an evolving job, and yeah, we're still figuring it out. If Kevin has more, by all means. But yeah, excited to be in the program. I've been in fuels or with crews and doing fuels work most of my career. So I'm just going up to the next level and learning on the more administrative side, the higher side of everything of implementing these projects. So yeah, excited to be involved.
Excited to see it evolve and see where we go with that and what it turns into and how we can utilize it with all of our fuel reduction projects and other mitigation projects. So let's go to the next line item. Caltrans, anybody here? So Shasta Valley RCD, Patty, sorry, we put in Henry. Would you please take it from, and I don't know where Henry's at. Is he coming tonight for our Siskiyou RCD?
You know, I don't know, but would love to hear from him, right? You know, want to be his friends.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn it over to Anna Perry's on. She's going to talk a little bit more about the forestry end of things, but the Shasta Valley RCD is pretty darn busy right now, all the way from, you know, Horse Creek down to Mount Shasta, with a whole variety of, you know, fuels and resilience projects and some fire recovery stuff that's been going on. Chief Mancebo mentioned the Osgood burn the other day. That was pretty awesome day, you know, quite interagency, and just great to see that whole fuel break coming together up there. I'm transitioning to helping some landowners get some piles burnt again with the weather change, and I am deep into planning and bureaucracy with respect to a couple of NCRP grants that we have for burning. So I'm trying to move those along. But Anna Perry, you want to add in?
Yeah, I can hop in briefly. Hi everyone, I'm Anna Perry. I'm a forestry and fuels project coordinator with the RCD. I don't think I've been on one of these meetings before to speak, but yeah, as Patty mentioned, a ton of projects, so much that I will not cover them all and bore you guys with that much information. But some of the big things we have going on, obviously our West Mount Shasta defensible space work is continuing right along. So far hasn't been slowed down by any of the weather. So I think they're on group 5 or 6 now for homes. And also our West Mount Shasta Forest Health Project Phase 2 just has a contract that's about to be awarded. So some work on that should start in on one of the Siskiyou Land Trust properties. So that'll be exciting getting that rolling, and you'll see some more contracts going out for that to start implementation and start creating a larger landscape scale fuel break and ecological restoration work out there. Some of the projects that I've been primarily on, as mentioned, the Osgood project, that also has some mastication ongoing right now. So they're on the east side of that ridge and continuing right along. There's been some big changes. If you're in or around the city of Wairika, you've probably been seeing that all the time. So work for that is going very well. And we also have some hand piles that are done, and you've maybe seen some burning out there. I think CAL FIRE has burnt some of those piles, and the PBA also plans to burn some piles out there if anyone is interested in joining for that. Otherwise, we also have some surveys going on for a project around the city of Weed that we're helping the city with, and probably won't happen this year, but you may see some work starting around Weed as well. There's some planned properties right around the city, so some fuel reduction and fuel break work. And yeah, I think those are the main things. Like I said, a lot more going on. So yeah, if anyone has questions, feel free to ask or contact myself or Patty. You can find our contact information on the RCD website. So yeah.
All right, thank you, Anna. And does anybody have any questions for these two young ladies?
And I was just going to ask if you still are taking signups for the West Mount Shasta projects in any of those phases. And if so, how to direct people to sign up for those.
That is a good question. I might need to double check with that with Anna Froelich, who's the lead on that project. I think their goal is 100 homes right now, and I think they're pretty full at this point on applications, is my understanding. But I can double check and get back with you on that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Anna, could you tell us a little bit more about the projects in Weed that you have coming up?
Yeah. So that one implementation has not started yet. So we're currently in the progress of doing biological and cultural surveys still. But there is primarily going to be some mastication going on some private land, as well as some work on some of the Caltrans property right along I-5. And that will be thinning and chipping likely. There's already been some work going on there, and that's a different project, but we plan to kind of extend that corridor along I-5. And then on some privately owned properties, still kind of along that I-5 corridor, there will be more mastication and thinning going on, and maybe some hand piling and eventually burning.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Kevin has his hand up.
And I just, it might be an offline question, but the land trust land that you're going to expand on in Mount Shasta, is that just farther south from the Waika project, or where is this land located?
Yeah, it's the Luganbuhl property, if you're familiar. I think that is north of the Waika it's north of Where I believe, if I'm thinking correctly.
Got it. All right. I appreciate that. And for everybody who doesn't realize, this relationship with the RCD, with Anna and Patty and Cal Fi, everybody, that we can't do these projects alone. So the relationships that we all have fostered and we're building, it's really what's amazing to lace all these parts and pieces together. It's really turned out pretty amazing.
Yeah, I agree. So, Butte Valley RCD has a new coordinator. I just learned about him tonight. Andrew, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm the new project manager for Lava Beds Butte Valley RCD. We were inactive for a number of years, so I'm working my manager, and if you've any of you met her, is Hannah Chittenden. She's remote in Germany, so I'm really the boots on the ground guy. So if your organization's working within the Butte Valley, you'll probably get sick of me pretty quick because I'm going to be, pestering you for info or whatever it be. And at this point, we're really working on landowner outreach for a juniper removal program. So I've been kind of coordinating with Shasta RCD has been helping me out, and with kind of getting some information with Fire Safe Siskiyou, and Cal Fire Forest Service. So you'll probably, if you haven't met me and you're working in the Butte Valley, you will probably pretty soon, because I'm zipping around all over the place looking for kind of potential projects. So if you guys kind of know of anything within the Butte Valley that's kind of long-term projects that you can think of, or landowners that might be interested in assessments or fuels reduction, definitely just shoot me a message, and I'd really appreciate it.
Thanks, Andrew. And yeah, we should get together and collaborate, because we are with the CWDG grant, we are out there in the valley too, doing some stuff. So,
And we need to get, if you can put your email in the chat, Andrew, I know Patty introduced you, we've got your email, but if Ruby could maybe just do it right now, in real time, to add you to the SOMIX email list as well.
thanks, Kristen. Siskiyou Media Council, Dave.
Good evening, everybody. This is the first time I've been called on to do this thing. So usually I'm just a member just watching what's going on. So just to let you know, I'm hearing a lot about prescribed burns and things like that. One of the things that Siskiyou Media Council is trying to do is try to keep people apprised of what's going on besides just the notices going out. But everybody, if you know about the Watch Duty app, Watch Duty uses actually Alert California, which is a website out of US Davis, or excuse me, I'm sorry, San Diego. And it basically has all the cameras across Siskiyou County, except for, I think, Pacific Power. They're working on that. But their algorithm for that website, when those cameras see the smoke, because they take a picture it does a 360 every minute, is that camera will actually focus in on that prescribed burn. And so if you wanted to see how that's going along, you can see how it is from those cameras that are in that area. So Alert California has that. I did talk with the director of the operations down there, and they're looking at trying to expand that so that people stay more informed about what's going on, and especially when we have the not prescribed burns, things like that. So that's something, alertcalifornia.org is if you want to look at that. That has all the cameras within Siskiyou County, except I think for, like I said, for Pacific Power.
That would be fun.
So yeah, it's a great little app. I mean, so it has really good stuff. So take a look at it. On the radio project that we're trying to do, the 12 low power FM radio stations, it's starting to get a little traction. I thought I was going to have some good news tonight, but I don't at this moment. There is an interested foundation into helping to possibly support the first 4 stations going online within the next couple of months. That's going to be we have a 12 network low power FM station. So 12 communities within Siskiyou County would have low power FM radio that would be basically a tertiary backup to all the other fun stuff that's going on. So we'll see how that's working out. Hopefully, so we'll get some good news, and then we're going to start really pushing for trying to find funders to finish up the rest of the 8 stations. Also within that, we found out that Siskiyou News, who is trying to, has basically a newspaper or kind of a newsletter and also a presence online and a lot of followers. That individual is thinking about moving on because of the cost, but I think that we're going to collaborate with them and try to work with them to find funding as well to keep their local news going, and then we'll hopefully marry that organization up with ours as a collaboration of separate organizations, but collaborating and utilizing the television station and the radio stations to see if we can keep that going on. So that right there, Siskiyou News can help you promote your projects, what's going on out there, let people keep knowing like that. So that's a source for you to let people know when your prescribed burns or your projects are going on. Let's see, promotions. We worked, Dunsmuir reached out to us to help us promote Green Day, October 25th. So we did that. We do that through our social media and our online bulletin board. So if you have projects and you want to see if we can get them to push that through as another source of getting that information out to Siskiyou County, let us know. And then also, I got a notice today from the Siskiyou Golden Fair that in June, their guess when they're going to hold the next Golden Fair. And I know that we want to try to work with the Fire Safe Council again in June to have a larger booth and to have a bigger presence there to promote Fire Safe Council and all the other work that's been doing with you folks. So that's it.
Are we moving the Siskiyou Golden Fair to June? I thought it was in August traditionally.
We're switching to June now.
Wow.
So earlier in the year. So I just got the notice today. I sent the information to Kristen for her to take a look at and see how that is so that we can start collaborating on how to make that booth happen.
Yeah.
We got a 10 by 20 this year or
We
next.
appreciate you sharing and all of the good work you did this
No,
year.
we appreciate you. It was a great time, and we got a lot of interest for the Fire Safe Council through that booth.
Yeah, we did. Thank you. Okay, next, CWPP update, Julie. Or Jay.
Yeah. Jay's actually working with our GIS person this evening, so on the latest map. So I'll just give you a quick lowdown on where we're at. We've had the meeting started this summer was our big interagency cooperative meeting, and from there we made a small group and started interagency mapping meetings. We've had 2 of those who are on our second draft, and it's all draft because it goes through a series of meetings, and we're in this collaboration process part of the CWPP for Greater Weed. So from there, we also added Lake Shastina into the project, which wasn't originally part of it, but since theirs was going to be updated, was needing an update, they and it makes sense because of their type of fire behavior and obviously proximity. It made sense to bring them into this project, and they are all about it. We did a presentation to their CSD, Community Service District, and they are very supportive, so they're on board. Jay and I are meeting tomorrow with the Weed City Council for a presentation to them, bringing them in, just again getting their support, collaboration, bringing them on board. And then the big Giselle posted it up yesterday, a big public workshop, which brings all these communities together, is December 3rd, Wednesday, December 3rd. And basically I have a big email list that from our initial kickoff cooperators meeting, and all those folks got that information. We just need to get that out to all those different communities. It's really important that they come and bring their input and look at the maps, and this whole collaboration part's really important. So it's going, and then we'll have a coordination meeting for that December 3rd. The coordination meeting with a smaller group will be November 18th. So all that's in the moving forward. And then along with that is this really interesting, and it's developing into, it's actually progressing along to where we're going to have a really good fire analysis, way different, way better than what we've had in the past. But we're looking at this vibrant Planet tool. CAL FIRE's also been part of that looking that look, I should say. They have beta tested it in 2 different counties. And when I checked back with Greg, Unit Chief Greg Roth, Chief Roth, he updated us that it is going really well. Both of those counties really are all about it. They like it, but it's beta testing. So it's going to be a while before this goes statewide. So we're still trying to figure out the funding to get it on board and get it for this specific project. And we're making headway in the platform that we're looking at utilizing. It won't be a quote subscription where we get it every year, but it's going to be a starting point. And then we're hoping it rolls into a thing where it's going to be on board by financial support from state eventually with CAL FIRE. We hope. But we're moving that direction. So we're still working on it with the various entities throughout the county, including the RCDs. SOMIC is talking about it with the group. So, and that it's going pretty well there too. So that's about it in a quick nutshell.
Thank you for that.
Any
thank you for working on
questions?
that. Yeah. Any questions for Julie concerning the Community Wildfire Protection Plan that's in development and for weed and a update for the county-wide one? Any questions?
Yes, Wildfire Coalition. We're just curious if you guys want to work together.
You're broken up, Kenneth. Can you say that again?
Oh, you know, my phone's dying. I'll just type it.
What?
Did anybody understand that?
I didn't.
I think he said you type it in the chat.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, type your question in the chat.
All right, thanks.
All right. And in the meantime, let's move along to the next one. Somebody keep an eye out for me to see what he types. And Kristen, when he types it, can you please relay it to the greater group? Next, OrCal RCD. Anybody here from there? Patty, Siskiyou Burn Association. You just included that in the RCD update?
I did. I snuck that in. Thank you.
Okay. And Scott River Watershed, anybody? Mount Shasta Bioregional, CJ.
Hi everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing. I'll keep this short and sweet. We've been pretty active, as Kenneth shared earlier from the Biochar Coalition. We did a pretty rad demonstration with them at Spring Hill Nursery in Mount Shasta. I hope to continue to do more demonstrations and work with the Biochar Coalition. I think those guys are doing some incredible work. I'd also like to say a really big thank you to the CAL FIRE crews that have been coming out with the chipper crews, to our community fuels reduction work days. Up in Weed, we're working with Scott Irvine. Down in Mount Shasta, working with Jason Collins. It's been a really beautiful relationship doing that work. So thank you, Kevin Mancebo, for pushing those chipper crews to come out and work with us, and we're very grateful. Speaking of work days, that's pretty much my only other real update. This is a long meeting. So for any folks that want to come out to participate in community fuels reduction, we will be gathering the Columbine sub-community up in Weed will be gathering on the 16th. That's a Sunday. We'll be meeting at the Cluster Box just south of College before Columbine. And we actually already had a work day in that area, and this is a follow-up to that, and we're expecting to see the CAL FIRE crews there if everything continues to go according to plan for them. And then in Mount Shasta on Friday the 21st and Saturday the 22nd, we'll be meeting at the railroad tracks on the Everett Memorial, just north of the high school. And if you're interested in participating there, both of those meet times will be 9 a.m. I'll provide breakfast and lunch as we do. And so yeah, come out, break some bread with us, and do some fuels reduction work with us. Thank you so much for hosting these meetings. Zell and Fire Safe Council.
Well, thank you, CJ, for participating. Thule, Sierra Nevada Conservancy.
Thanks,
Update.
Giselle. Just quickly, our next quarterly board meeting will be December 11th. It's going to be in Sacramento. Our September board meeting was canceled due to the Garnet Fire, so all the action items from that agenda are being bumped to our December agenda. So keep an eye on our website for that. And then Wildfire Task Force meeting will be the following day, and both of those are going to be in Sacramento. So no other substantial updates at this time. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Giselle, Kenneth typed in that question he is curious if the community wildfire outreach can incorporate community biochar making with top-down burn methodologies, and they can supply the technical training for that.
Community wildfire outreach, and as in which outreach? We can always include it, as we move along. Anybody have an answer to that?
I don't know that I have an answer, but I think I kind of get where Kenneth might be coming from. The idea of teaching the public, by and large, the power of biochar and how to make it is incredibly important to the Biochar Coalition. It's incredibly important to me also, and I think as people understand and come to have any kind of relationship with biochar, it becomes very important to them because you understand the value and the power of it. So any of the RCDs present, any of the agencies present that aren't either fully aware or understanding of the power of biochar and how easy it is for people to make and use, please reach out to the Biochar Coalition. If Kenneth wasn't able to provide his contact information in the chat, you can reach out to me. My info is in the chat now, and I can connect you. We are looking to do some continued demonstrations with them, so that could be an opportunity for that. But yeah, I think just by and large, the public, that we should all be working to educate the public on how they can do this and why it's important.
Yeah, and we can look to what kind of outreach we can include him in. Kristen can probably think of a few things, and we'll work towards those means as we move forward with that. But thank you, Kenneth.
Yeah,
So-
they have some really, just on one more point, they have really great videos on YouTube and some really good information out there on things like Instagram, some really awesome visuals. That's the last thing. Sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
That's all right. Darren Weeks has his hand up.
Yeah, I got a question for CJ there. Is that biochar making stuff something people can do simply themselves, or they need certain equipment or certain?
Yeah, totally. And so without keeping everybody from dinner, I'll be really, the short and nasty of it is, as far as people making it at home, is you have your burn pile. It's set as far as the amount of material that's going to be in the burn pile. You burn from the top down. As the fire starts to get down to just embers or burning coals, you quench it with water. And in that style of creating a biochar, you can capture something like 14%, as much as 14% solid carbon. So you're not sending you're sending a far less amount of smoke up into the air. You're also not burning to ash, so you're not creating any like fine silty particles that are going to find their way into our waterways and create other problems. And so yeah, it's that easy. Just set your material, start from the top, let it burn down, quench, capture the biochar.
And then that biochar can be used in gardens and in the fields and as needed.
So yeah, so right when it's made, it's void of it's just a negatively charged piece of pure carbon. So you would want to charge it in some way, whether that's introducing it into a compost pile or manure or something. It does require charging, unless you're trying to remediate the ground somewhere, and then you can actually introduce that pure negatively charged carbon into an area, let's say that's high in sulfur dioxide or methane or something like that, and it will actually start to sequester that in the ground and lock it up in those chunks of carbon, and they can be left in place and effectively neutralizing those toxins. Hopefully I'm doing this justice.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it definitely sounds a lot better than just a bunch of pile of ash after a burn pile. So appreciate that.
And
Thank
Yeah, totally. And that's the mission that the coalition is on, is exactly that. Let's make char and add back to the depleting topsoils as opposed to burning to ash and creating problems for the air and the waterways.
I've heard a lot
I don't
of
think
good
anyone
news.
realizes how simple it is. I think everyone has the concept that you need some, like, Darren was saying, like an apparatus, like a biochar kiln, barrel or whatever. So maybe we'll get, if you want to connect with Kenneth, then maybe you guys can put together a presentation for being a guest speaker at one of our meetings in the first of the year, 2026. That'd be awesome.
Thanks for the offer. I'll pass the word along. I'm sure he'll love that.
Right.
I just want to add to that, Giselle, with Kenneth and CJ. Last Saturday on the, I forget what the date was, last Saturday, this group, the biochar group, actually also did a demonstration out at the Hornbrook Community Hall out in Hornbrook last week with this kiln burn for biochar. And it was actually very, very interesting. We had a good little amount of turnout, and I think it's something that we should definitely look into the future for pile burning. Like CJ was just saying, it's tremendous on how this burn works, to where it puts up basically almost maybe 0% smoke into the air. The biochar is so useful in so many different ways. It'll actually gain the mycorrhizae and the lime that is beneficial in putting it into gardens, and like CJ was saying, it's basically turns into a charcoal where it'll purify your water and make our waterways a lot more healthier. And I learned so much about it. Matter of fact, Giselle, I sent you some information on it on your cell text, on all their info, so we can
Thanks,
get them
Joey.
into an outreach later on.
Thanks, Joey. I appreciate that. Yeah, it sounds really interesting. Well, because we're on here for a long time tonight, I'm going to start skipping stuff. So, and only thing I see left on this list that we might need to talk about is Firewise community updates. If the local fire safe councils don't mind, let's defer all of that till another time. And Kristen, would you like to talk about the Firewise communities, and then we will have an open forum?
Yeah, real first item is to thank CJ and the Bioregional Ecology Center for all the awesome partnership on getting Firewise communities activated, and that's been huge. Really, really appreciate you, CJ, and taking the baton even further to get those work days organized, and yeah, really elevating the engagement with these Firewise communities. And so, yeah, that also those work days that CJ has been doing fulfills one of the biggest requirements for the Firewise applications and renewals. So really effective, and wouldn't be happening without CJ out there. So and yeah, we've gotten a handful of our new Firewise communities have busted out their applications and submitted those in the last couple weeks. Hammond Ranch just a couple days ago, and Timber Hills. And we still have till December 31st to get new applications in. And the existing Firewise communities that we had that got recognition last year got their renewals in, and they're all pretty, they're really operating pretty independently. They really got some good leaders in place, and they really took the bull by the horns and got it done. So impressed with all of our communities, and appreciate everyone's dedication, especially Heidi. Heidi is working with CJ to get those work days next week, and got her Gateway Firewise application submitted. So it's, yeah, super exciting to see all the momentum, and just, yeah, want to get as many folks on board in then 2026 as possible.
Yeah, we're real excited about the outcome with Firewise communities and how we're increasing almost daily. And thank you, Kristen, for all your work in coordinating that. We appreciate you all. So now I'm going to move to open forum. Anybody have anything on their minds burning, they can't let go. They need, no pun intended, that they can't let go and need to talk about right now. All right, I think then we're good. Next meeting is December 10th, same place, same station, and we appreciate you all.
Oh,
Oh, wait, Heidi raised her hand. Heidi. Heidi?
We did get recognized as a Firewise community, which is the next step.
Yes, sorry, Heidi. Yeah, you actually, that was just
Yeah,
last
that's
week.
great.
So very
And then
recent too. Yeah.
we have chipping starting from the beginning of the month all the way through the 22nd. Folks are getting their stuff out for chipping starting the 22nd. So you can get everything. You can tell your neighbors, Giselle and Kristen, they can get their stuff on the street. And then I also want to share that I'm the Audubon nesting bird and fuel management liaison. I should turn on my camera. So for all the work that we're doing to reduce fuels, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for getting that done in the fall. Springtime is our big concern, and getting as much as the acres that we can get in the fall when we don't have to worry, that's, even better. And the other thing I want to share is I've been going to the Zone Zero California Board of Forestry meetings, and I've been commenting, and the latest on that is they're really getting close to coming up with what the requirements will be for Zone Zero. They need comments right now to kind of finalize everything. If you are curious, if you're interested, for some reason there is a concern about there's a concern that the lumber industry might take some hit if we allow wood gates adjacent to homes. So that's one of the combustibles that we learned about, in Zone Zero, are those wooden gates. And there's a lot of people trying to communicate the importance of not having any combustibles, especially like a wooden gate. But interestingly enough, there's also a concern about supporting our lumber industry that goes all the way down to that wooden gate. So you can tell what my comment's going to be on this next letter. Having maybe 1% of the lumber going towards a wooden gate that supports our timber industry is probably not really a concern, and I've got to somehow convey that. But otherwise, they're doing a really good job, and it's been a really interesting process. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a lot easier to save these homes because of the level of protection that they're going to have. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Heidi. I wonder if they have any matrices on wooden gates and exactly how much they will diminish the wood industry. That seems kind of moot, but maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, any other questions or comments?
Jeff's got his hand up.
Oh, do you? Oh.
Yep, I've got a
Yeah.
real quick one for everyone. Please feel free to reach out to CAL FIRE in regards to burning or any of the additional projects anyone may have in the county. So we're always available. Most of the people I believe have Chief Mancebo's number, mine, and then Singleton is the new addition to our team. So there's a ton of projects going on. The county is doing very well. Very happy with the progress we've made and the cooperation that's been going on in the county. I'd like to see more of it, and I'm expecting we're going to expand the whole program in the county from fuels reduction projects to prescribed fire, pile burning. The whole thing is really coming along. I really appreciate the support from the community and the involvement that all of you have done in this county.
And we appreciate you too, Seth. Seth's a good man. I've worked with him for a number of years on a lot of fuel reduction projects, and he's one of the best. Thank you. So, any other comments? All right, you guys.
So.
Or somebody say something? Okay. Well, I guess we're good, huh? We'll see y'all